Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's not just theoretical anymore. It's happening right now in one of Europe's most critical industrial hubs. We're talking about AI agents as digital colleagues and how Rotterdam, by 2026, is transforming its workforce integration strategy. Sam, this feels like a major shift away from the chatbots we've known for years.
Absolutely. And that distinction matters more than people realize. We're not talking about a help desk bot that answers FAQs. We're talking about autonomous systems that make bounded decisions, execute workflows, access real data sources, and learn from patterns, 24/7, with full audit trails. In a port handling 500 million tons of cargo annually, that's not a nice to have, that's operational infrastructure.
So when you say bounded decisions, what does that actually look like in practice? Like, the agent isn't just recommending, it's acting?
Exactly. Take cargo manifest verification at Rotterdam. A traditional chatbot might help a human find information. An AI agent autonomously cross-references container data with regulatory databases in real time, flags inconsistencies, and flags them before shipment. But only for cases where it's confident. For edge cases, it escalates to a human. It operates across shifts, learns port-specific patterns, and maintains complete audit trails. That's a digital colleague, not a tool.
And the numbers backing this up are pretty compelling. We're seeing 67% of enterprise leaders reporting ROI within 6 to 8 months, right? Manufacturing and logistics are seeing 4.2x cost reduction in routine decision-making cycles.
Those aren't vanity metrics either. We're talking about measurable impact in high-stakes environments. And here's what really caught my attention. Forrester's data shows this ROI is consistent across sectors. It's not an outlier. The Netherlands specifically is investing heavily. 8.7% of the 12.3 billion European spend on AI agent infrastructure is concentrated in Dutch port operations, pharma manufacturing, and financial services. This is real capital allocation.
But here's where it gets complicated for organizations trying to move fast. The EU AI Act doesn't treat AI agents like consumer apps. High-risk systems, which includes anything affecting workplace safety or critical infrastructure, have real compliance teeth. How do companies actually navigate that?
That's where most organizations get tripped up. They build the system, get it working, then try to bolt compliance on at the end. That's expensive and usually ineffective. Instead, you need what we call AI lead architecture. Compliance isn't an afterthought. It's baked into the system design from day one. That means role-based access controls so agents only touch data they need, decision transparency layers that explain recommendations before execution, and real-time bias monitoring dashboards.
So it's almost like security by design in software development, but for AI governance?
Precisely. And it includes incident response playbooks, predefined escalation paths when an agent encounters edge cases it can't handle. You also need continuous risk assessment, not just a one-time checkbox. Human oversight mechanisms that actually prove humans retain meaningful control, not just nominally, but demonstrably. And data governance that ensures your training data doesn't encode historical discrimination into future decisions.
That last point feels critical. If you're training on historical port operations data, you could inadvertently bake in biases around hiring, shift assignments, or resource allocation. How do teams actually audit for that?
Exactly the right concern. You need transparency logging so you can trace every decision the agent made. Then you audit those decisions for patterns. Are certain demographics consistently deprioritized for certain workflows? Are certain facilities always getting flagged when similar conditions elsewhere are waved through? Once you identify those patterns, you can adjust training data, retrain the model, and implement guardrails, but you can't do any of that without comprehensive logging and analysis infrastructure.
And I assume PwC and other analysts have weighed in on how realistic this is for enterprises actually trying to deploy in 2026?
They have, and the message is clear. Organizations that start building compliance into architecture now will be positioned well. Those waiting to see how regulators move are going to face expensive retrofitting or delayed deployments. The EU AI Office's 2025 Enterprise Adoption Report shows 54% of European organizations are already planning investments in AI agent infrastructure for 2026. In the Netherlands, that's concentrated in exactly the sectors where compliance pressure is highest: ports, pharma, financial services.
So, if you're in Rotterdam running manufacturing or a port operation, what does a realistic adoption pathway look like? You can't just flip a switch and integrate digital colleagues across your workforce overnight.
No, and organizations trying that will fail. You start with a single, well-defined workflow: high volume, rule-based, low ambiguity, maybe cargo manifest verification or routine supply chain data validation. You build it with compliance architecture from the start, you implement those monitoring dashboards and audit trails, and you run it in parallel with human processes for months. You collect data on where the agent performs well, where it needs human escalation, and where biases might be emerging.
And only after you've validated that first agent you expand?
Exactly. Second phase, you add a second workflow, but now you're applying lessons learned from phase 1. You're also building organizational muscle around monitoring, incident response, and governance. By the time you're deploying across multiple workflows, and this is where that 73% Gartner projection becomes real, your team understands what it takes to manage digital colleagues at scale. You're not scrambling to retrofit compliance or control frameworks.
That governance piece feels underestimated. I think a lot of organizations are focused on technical capability and assuming governance will follow naturally. But based on what you're saying, governance is the technical capability.
Completely right. An AI agent without proper governance isn't a digital colleague, it's a liability. It could unknowingly perpetuate discrimination, make decisions that violate regulatory requirements, or fail in ways that damage your entire operation. With proper governance, transparent logging, human oversight built into workflows, and continuous monitoring, you have something you can actually trust with critical business functions.
So, for listeners in Rotterdam or anywhere else considering this, the message is: start now, start small, and build governance into the architecture from day one. Don't wait for regulation to be finalized. The EU AI Act is already in effect, and it applies to high-risk systems today.
Exactly. And honestly, treating AI agents like digital colleagues with the same oversight, transparency, and accountability you'd demand from human colleagues isn't just good compliance practice, it's good risk management. It builds trust within your workforce and ensures these systems actually deliver on their promise.
Sam, thanks for breaking this down. For listeners wanting to explore this more deeply, the infrastructure requirements, specific compliance frameworks for different sectors, and case studies from actual deployments, head over to etherlink.ai and find the full article, AI Agents as Digital Colleagues, Workforce Integration in Rotterdam 2026. You'll find links to the original Gartner, Forrester, and EU reports we referenced as well. That's it for this episode of EtherLink AI Insights. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Alex. Great conversation.